Backchat TV. Subscribe.
He has also talked about it. That left hook is so good, and it's so long and so precise.
People in the world, human beings, if you have a problem, the best way to overcome your problems is find that special person and talk to them. Some people, they here for you, you know. A person like me, reach out to me, DM me, I might hit you back, but hey, find somebody to get some help, man, because it get dark, and it's real, you know. And if y'all talk to my twin brother, tell him I love him, and tell him I want to fight, and you know, y'all call him for me or whatever, hit him up, he not answering my calls or whatever, but you know, shout out to KP and Big Maxo. Maxo, you did an excellent job walking me out, you didn't fumble or nothing. And I love everybody, and I love, you know, let's do it, man. Let's get these big fights going. We got more to go, and I'm happy to be back. Thank y'all.
Congratulations.
What's going on, boxing fans? It's Backchat TV, and I'm back with another video. So I just got finished watching some of the highlights of the a few of the fights that were on last night, and it's my first opportunity to make some videos and some content about a few of the different topics and things that are related to some of the fights. In particular, we're going to talk about Charlo first, the Charlo brothers. So obviously, Jamal Charlo had his fight against Jose Benavidez. He looked like somebody who has been off for a little while, but he still did really well. He did well to win. He did well to win most of the rounds convincingly. You could tell he'd been off. You could tell he was a little bit rusty. His defense was a little bit rusty. He got hit with a few shots that he wouldn't normally get hit with, because he's actually quite defensive, to be honest, and he's quite good at getting out of the way of punches, and he did get hit with a few punches. I wouldn't say he got necessarily buzzed, but a couple of times maybe he got buzzed by Jose Benavidez. And Jose Benavidez is a tough fighter, but I wouldn't say he's anything more than that. You know, he's not comparable to his younger brother at all. They got a similar style, but nothing at all. So, you know, it's not really a stepping stone to a big fight like David Benavidez. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. Let's just talk about what's going on with these two. So there's some rumors that Jamal Charlo and his brother, they haven't spoken since the Canelo fight, and they're not getting on at all. Jamal Charlo has not answered his brother's phone calls or emails or anything, apparently. And I can't say I'm totally surprised. I think they have totally different personalities. I think this is the reason. If you want to know what's going on with these two, there's a few things that has happened, and I could see this kind of thing coming, because they've both got this kind of chalk and cheese personality. For example, Jamal Charlo, the bigger brother, the brother that fights that bigger weight class at least, he seems to be more of a calm, laid-back kind of guy, and a nice guy. Whereas Jamal is more, he's got more of the attitude, the chip on his shoulder, and you see this kind of interaction between them, where normally Jamal Charlo, the older brother, is the one who's always having to calm down Jamal Charlo. He has to calm him down. He has to be there when he has some kind of crisis. He has to make him feel better, like when he first took his first loss, and it was his brother that was there for him. When they had their big issue before the Canelo fight, it was his brother who squashed it and came to, you know, walk Jamal Charlo to the ring. And I think it's been like this throughout their careers, because Jamal Charlo is always the one, he sees himself as the bigger brother. He sees himself as being responsible for his younger brother. Even though there's only a few minutes between them, that's how I feel like it's always been. And because of that dynamic, Jamal Charlo is always the one who's allowed to act up. He's always the one to have the attitude and get angry and he's not talking, and then when they have big arguments, it's always Jamal Charlo who has to come and make up with Jamal Charlo. It's always like that. Even their phone conversations where they've had fights over the phone and stuff like that. And actually, Jamal Charlo has said some quite nasty things to his brother. Normally, his brother doesn't really want to continue and argue back with his brother. He likes to keep the peace. So Jamal Charlo, he likes to keep the peace. Jamal Charlo strikes me as the one that's more the instigator. And that dynamic is why I feel they always fall out. What happens recently is Jamal Charlo, I think he was upset because we all know Jamal Charlo had his mental issues, the breakdown. It was instigated by an issue with his wife, who I think is the second problem in his life. And the main problem, I think his wife is the main problem. I'll tell you why. That whole dynamic of one brother will be there for the other one, but the other one won't be there for him. I think this is how their relationship works, and it's a recipe for disaster, I think. What Jamal Charlo, I feel, needs to do is stop being such a nice guy. It's the only way. I don't think he should have got back with his wife. His wife, if you look at his wife on Instagram and things she's said on all different platforms and her behavior, she is this typical type of toxic woman. And when they were going to get a divorce, he should have stuck with it. Sign the papers, divorce. Doesn't matter about breaking up the family. Someone like her, as far as I can see, will always cause Jamal Charlo problems. The problem with Jamal Charlo is he's a nice guy. He wants to keep his family together. He wants to forgive her for all the things she said in public, on YouTube, on all sorts of platforms against him. He wants to get back his family. He wants to make up with his brother. He wants to do all this. But you can't do this with people who have this kind of combative type of toxic character. Jamal Charlo strikes me as a kind of a spoiled little brother who has always been able to get away with things, and so he never has to make up with his older brother. He doesn't really have respect for him because the older brother is always trying to keep the peace. Jamal Charlo always thinks that he can do whatever he wants because his older brother is always going to try and keep the peace, and so he doesn't really have the same respect. And I think Jamal Charlo, he needs to change this dynamic. One of the reasons why he got stressed in the first place was keeping people around him who weren't good for him because he's such a nice guy. This is what nice guys do. Always trying to make up with his brother who doesn't respect him and getting stressed out about fighting with his brother all the time. Whereas Jamal Charlo is not stressed about him. Trying to keep his wife happy, and if you've seen the way she behaves, you will know what kind of woman she is. It's impossible to keep that kind of person happy. If he doesn't change his dynamics, he's not going to get far. He's not going to get completely over his depression. His depression, in my view, my limited view on this whole subject, obviously I don't know everything, but I've seen this kind of dynamic before, and he should have divorced his estranged wife. She's trouble. Get rid of her straight away. And I think when he has fallen out with his brother, he should tell his brother, look, I've got nothing against you. You know, it's all cool with me. Contact me when you're ready to speak, and leave it at that. No calls, no emails, no nothing. Because that's the only way he's going to get respect from his younger brother. His younger brother will see like, oh, you know what? My brother literally hasn't called me, and he's going on, he's got back into boxing, he's doing his own thing. He hasn't even called me. And then he's going to be the one to come crawling back in some kind of way. This is the dynamic between them. Jamal is the spoilt one. And the other one, Jamal Charlo, is the more responsible one. So if he's going to get over his mental health issues, he needs to sort out that dynamic, or it's going to be the same thing. Hope they do make it up though. Brothers shouldn't fight like that. On to the actual fight performance, I should say. Jamal Charlo against Jose Benavidez. I wasn't sure who was going to win because Jamal's been out of the ring for 30 months, almost 3 years. Not just out of the ring, but with a breakdown. You know, he never trained for a very long time. And Jose has been more active. So I thought it was a 50-50 fight. You know, Jose coming up from a much smaller weight class. I knew that would play into it. But at the same time, I've never known Jamal Charlo to be really a power puncher. So, really, the power punchers are the ones that you have to be careful of if you're moving up in weight. So I didn't know who was going to win. And I thought it was going to go one or two ways. Either Jose Benavidez was going to embarrass Jamal Charlo, and literally Jamal Charlo's career would just be over, because you can't be off for 3 years almost, not defend your titles, and then come back and get beaten by a guy coming up in weight. It just wouldn't be a good look. So, literally, you can't just come back after 2.5 years and have a bad performance and then still carry on with your career. I think his career would have been over if he didn't get this win, and he did get the win. So he's still unbeaten, no matter how good or bad you think he is. He was definitely rusty. His defense wasn't as tight as normal, because he normally has quite a good defense, like I said earlier. Jose Benavidez was a good opponent to come up against, because he stands in front of you. His defense is not great. He has this tough man thing of he seems to be a kind of person who prides himself on taking punishment. He'll stand there in front of you, and if you hit him, he'll kind of smile, like to say, "You didn't hurt me." And that doesn't go very far in boxing. Luckily, his younger brother, David Benavidez, is kind of the opposite. He is a fighter who used to take punishment because he was a bigger guy and he could take it. But now he kind of prides himself on being skillful and being more athletic, where he wasn't so athletic beforehand, and slipping shots and not letting you hit him. And he never used to be like that. He's more of a thinker. And I feel like he's just way more dedicated to the sport than Jose Benavidez. I think Jose Benavidez has a lot of issues outside the ring. I'm not surprised he got shot, to be honest. I know that sounds terrible, but he has a toxic behavior. Like, he has a kind of a immature, I should say, attitude, even though he's the older brother. And, he had run-ins with Terence Crawford before their fight. Jamal Charlo, even though I don't see what Jamal Charlo did to deserve all the backlash that Jose Benavidez was giving him. He even had some back and forward with Danny Garcia, who's one of the nicest guys. I feel like Jose Benavidez is the kind of guy who could have an argument with himself in the mirror if the opportunity arises. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not surprised that he got shot. He got shot in the leg. I'm not surprised at all. His character is one of kind of an immature kind of hothead, I would say. And he's a tough man, but apart from being a tough hothead, I don't really see much that he does well. He had his moments. He rocked Jamal Charlo a little bit. He got some clean shots off, but in general, Jamal Charlo stayed disciplined, behind the jab, following up with the right hand every now and then, stepping in and out of range. And he looked good, He looked good. First fight back, he looked good. But I'll tell you one thing, he's going to have to improve a lot more than this if he wants to progress to fight, his brother, David Benavidez. I don't give, on this performance, I wouldn't give Jamal Charlo a chance at all. 0 chance against David Benavidez. A revenge fight against Caleb Plant would be a good fight. That would be a good fight, definitely. I see Caleb Plant winning that fight. So far, I haven't seen enough from Jamal Charlo. So I probably have Caleb Plant beating him as well as David Benavidez. I don't know. Who does Jamal Charlo beat? We'll have to see what happens. This is his first fight back. I like to see how he improves. But I think if he's going to be serious and dedicated, he's going to have to improve a lot more than that. Because at the moment, I've got David Benavidez beating him easily. I've got Benavidez Andrade, despite his loss, also beating Jamal Charlo, because Benavidez Andrade looked amazing in the first 3 rounds, even 4 rounds against David Benavidez, and then he just ran out of steam and David Benavidez just crushed him. Size difference, fitter, stronger, younger. I think it was just a lot at a different weight class, There was a lot going against Benavidez, but it doesn't mean Benavidez is finished. Despite being almost 36, I think he still beats Jamal Charlo. And like I said, there's few, Caleb Plant I think still beats Jamal Charlo. So there's a lot of improving for Jamal Charlo to do if he's serious. but you can't take away from the win. He got a great win. On to the next one. Why didn't his brother come to walk him to the ring like he did for him when he went to fight Canelo, you know? Double standards I see from Jermell Charlo. But either way, it was a good fight. And moving on to the main event. The main event didn't disappoint. It didn't disappoint. I like Benavidez Andrade. I think he did himself proud. You know, he went in there, all guns blazing from the first round, putting it on David Benavidez, throwing combinations. He was kind of fighting on the outside and, you know, close range. He was changing his body position and landing shots on the inside, and he was doing some really clever work. David Benavidez did well to weather the storm, got his hands up nice and tight, unlike his brother does, and just weathered the storm. And then obviously Andrade kind of ran out of gas, and Benavidez just pushed forward, started landing nice body shots, which also slowed down Andrade. And it seemed as if, although Andrade was doing really well, it's almost like an hourglass running out of sand. This was a term that Paulie Malignaggi used, and I think it's perfect to describe what happened to Andrade. He just, it was like, you know, the tide coming to the shore. You know, eventually you can't stop it. You can't stop it. It's going to come. It's going to destroy everything in its path. And that's what happened to Andrade. I don't write Andrade off, though. Not at all. I think it was a great performance. So some people say it's crazy, but it was a great performance. He looked good. And another thing I like is at the end of the fight, he wasn't discouraged. He said, I'm back, you know. I don't care about the loss. I'm back. I'm going to get better, and I'm going to keep going. And this is a champion talking. He didn't say, you know, I'm almost 36. That's probably the last you're going to see of me. I'm not sure. I have to think about what I'm going to do next. He said, no, I'm going to get straight back into training. And it seems like he's lit a new fire. Now, I think that's great because I think he's got bags of talent. This is the first time he's been able to step up in competition. He has not had a chance up until now. His first chance, he stepped up against probably the best or one of the best besides Canelo and came up short. But he looked great until he kind of faded in maybe the 4th, 5th round and then getting stopped in the 6th round. Well, he quit on his stall. Now, if he goes back, that's a lot to work on. I think he can do it. He can go back and work on his conditioning. He can go back and work on, you know, his strength and conditioning and pushing back fighters so that he doesn't run out of steam. You know, he can work on a lot of things. This is his first step up. A lot of great fighters, when they haven't stepped up to that level of composition, they come up short. But then they go on to become great fighters after, because you sometimes need this lesson. Look at Canelo. Canelo is the best in the division. He was an amazing prospect prior to fighting Floyd Mayweather. But he'd never seen anything like Floyd Mayweather before. He came up against the best of this era. And, you know, he couldn't do anything. Mayweather had the shoulder roll, the distance control, you know, the counter left hooks, the, you know, bouncing off the ropes and ducking and slipping and the shoulder rolling and everything. And Canelo just was not ready for that kind of thing. He was ready for a guy coming forward, throwing bombs at each other. That's the kind of fight he likes. After Canelo fought Mayweather, he became unstoppable because he took on all the skills and all the things that he was lacking. You see it in Canelo's style, when he rolls the shoulder, when he gets out the way of shots. You can see that he took a lot from fighting the best. And I hope Andrade is not old enough, he's not too old, that he can't take a lot from this fight. There's a lot to take from this loss. Like I said, it's not like he just got completely demolished. He looked great in the beginning. He was landing combinations at will. He seemed to have the faster hand speed, even though Benavidez has fast hand speed. He had fast feet. He held his own on the inside in the early rounds. He's got a lot to be proud of, and he can work on a lot. You know, but obviously we saw what happened later on. He needs to work on that later, that second half of a fight. And I'm sure he can do it. Other than that, great fights. Where does Demetrius go from here? Well, it's not his weight class. You know, he's a 160-pound fighter who went up to 168, goes back down to 160 probably. There's fights against Caleb Plant, There's fights against lots of people. Andrade, lots of fights out there, and I think he's got a chance of beating everybody else apart from Benavidez, to be honest, and someone like Canelo at 168. But at his weight, arguably he's still the best. So that's my thoughts on the fight. Oh, and obviously saving the best for last, David Benavidez himself. I probably should have started with that, but yeah, how did he look? He looked great. He looked great. He's really looking like a champion. I had a feeling that this was going to be, a marquee win, a win that would be remembered. I've just seen such a change in David Benavidez. I've been watching him for a while. There was a time when he was a little bit immature. He was a little bit emotional. You could see that he's matured now, and his older brother is the one who's emotional now. He's decided that boxing is what he wants to dedicate himself to. There was that little immature period where obviously he got in trouble for the cocaine issue, partying too much, not dedicating himself to the sport. I think a few things helped to make him become a dedicated fighter now, and we're seeing the full potential. People have been saying he's got this potential for a long time, but he needed to dedicate himself. And now I feel like that's what he's done. Having a wife and a new child that's just come along. I'm not sure if it's a boy or girl, new son, I think his son. That's helped to dedicate him, because often that is one of the biggest thing that helps you to focus on your career. Obviously, like I said, he was young. He's still young, 26. But he's just looking like he's getting better and better. He's looking at his flaws. He's listening to what people have said. He got obviously quite upset about people saying he's a one-trick pony and he just comes forward and he's easy to hit. He started working on those things. And now we really do have a monster because he's worked on his defense. His defense looking good now. His footwork is even looking good. He's looking more athletic. He's not looking so stiff. And he's really, I can't see many weaknesses in him anymore, So he's going to be difficult to beat. Now, I heard Paulie Malignaggi talking about the fight, and he said there's no way that Canelo is going to fight David Benavidez. And I like Paulie Malignaggi because I think he's got very good technical breakdown of fights. Obviously, he's done it himself at a high level. And he's often right at the things he says. But I don't think he's correct about this. And I could be the one that's wrong. But I don't think Canelo is ducking David Benavidez. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but I just feel that Canelo has earned the right to do so much that he was just trying to become, he was trying to add weight classes to his accolades, He cleared out most of the division. He saw an opportunity at 175 pounds and he wanted to go up and take that belt. And, he wasn't so interested in the young David Benavidez coming up, beating a few contenders. Prior to the fight with Caleb Plant, who has David Benavidez really fought to make Canelo want to fight him? Canelo has fought so many champions that he really now needs contenders to have really done something to have the right to fight him. And I think that's all it was. He knew that Benavidez was coming up as a good potential number one contender, but he wanted to claim some belts at 175 pounds. He hasn't got long in the sport himself. If he would have beaten Bivol, he could have claimed to be, pound for pound. And that's what he was looking for. He always wanted to fight. He wasn't ducking David Benavidez. He's not ducking Andrade. He's not ducking Charlo. These guys have to step up their game in order to get the shot at Canelo. Canelo knows his value, knows his worth. Now that David Benavidez has done this, I think Canelo will make the fight with him. Honestly, I've never seen Canelo as a person who's really ducking anybody. To go up and fight Bivol, why would you be ducking? I just don't see it. But I could be wrong. I think the fight will happen. But we'll have to see. If it does happen, who will win? That's a tough question. I'm not sure. Benavidez is getting stronger and stronger. I don't see many weaknesses in him, but Canelo has a habit of making people quit. So we'll have to see. As for trying to make an early prediction who would win a clash between Benavidez and Canelo, I'd have to see how they look a little bit closer to the fight being made. I have to see how much Canelo has declined and how much Benavidez has improved, and I'm not going to see that until maybe a little bit later on, maybe if they have a press conference or something. I'm on to the next one.
I said, guess who's back? Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?